Hello, everyone. So we're out for a doggy walk. He's not dying. He sounds like he is. It's a Boston Terrier breed thing. So the sun has come out. This is our second walk of the day. And I want to talk really quickly about something because I think some of you out there might have a better word for this paradigm of behavior, this particular pattern of behavior, which we're all familiar with. I want to have a good name for it. I want to be able to explain it in a succinct way so that we can talk about it. And what I'm talking about is the people in our lives who would rather have things go very, very badly if by going badly it proves them right, rather than preferring the idea that, well, things went really good and I thought they were going to go badly, but they went good instead, so I'm glad I was wrong. That's me. I am the type of person who, for me, I want the best possible outcome. If I am concerned that a bad outcome is going to happen under certain conditions, I'll work against those conditions, whatever they might be. But I don't get attached to being correct that things will go badly. And I think the reason I don't get attached to that is for two reasons. One, I have the common decency to want what is best for people. And I don't get any satisfaction or joy or that feeling where you're like, you've stabbed someone in the back with the knife or something, and you just want to twist it. That's not me. I mean, I would feel actually nauseous even at the idea of that. So there's that piece. And that is similar to the second part of why I think I would rather be wrong and have things go well. And that, come on, Dobby, this way, is that my ego is not attached to being right. So I'm talking specifically, let's say, about politics in America and the idea that a particular president that we predict is going to do things badly. And we see people who get their ego so wrapped up in wanting to be right, or they become so hateful that it's almost like that idea of, there's this phrase, I'm about to look it up. It's something to spite your face or something. It's sort of like, I would rather, be injured and be proven right than not be injured and be proven wrong. So this is a problem in American society right now, and it is what is at the root of the common decent people being weaponized, specifically by the Democratic Party. People who are inherently good, who are generally kind and really do perceive themselves as being well-meaning, well-intentioned, and generous of spirit and heart, those people are being captured without, I believe, their awareness, and they're being weaponized. And the way it looks in my Facebook feed from people who live on my island is that if something is going badly, they jump all over it, they wave their hands, and they say, this is proof that what I said is true. And then, of course, they go on a personal attack. And they'll say that people who didn't think bad things were going to happen are basically stupid, dumb, arrogant. They'll have a whole list of things. And they're sort of like egging those people on. They just sort of are calling them out and saying, see, I told you so, which is another thing that I personally don't do. I don't do that as a parent to my children. I would never do that as a partner to my spouse. I don't do that to anybody that I know. It's the height of rudeness to say, see, I told you so to someone, because most people are doing the best they can to make good decisions, and we all make mistakes. So when a person doesn't listen to our advice and they do something and it doesn't work out well, the last thing we want to do is kick them while they're down and be like, oh, see, I told you so. So we've got that behavior. And then when things turn around and start to go well, you hear crickets, right? And this is exactly what's happened over the past few days with the tariffs being announced. And then the stock market and markets around the world had an appropriate response to a powerful and strong action being taken by a superpower. And the way I saw it was, well, let's hope this resolves quickly. Let's hope this goes well. This makes sense to me that you're going to have repercussions from a strong stance taken by a superpower. And let's keep our fingers crossed and hope that it works out well. But the way those people who have that certain pattern of behavior took it was they were just so happy that things had gone badly, because they desperately need and want to be right. And what they really don't realize is that they want to be right, that things are going to become horrible. By wanting to be right, that things are going to be horrible, you are effectively wanting people to suffer, because through their suffering, they prove you correct. In other words, you care more about your self-righteousness and being proven correct in your predictions than you actually care about people in your country who are going to be impacted by the failure or success of certain policies. And it really rankles in my soul that the people who have succumbed to this insidious paradigm within themselves also perceive themselves to be on the side of righteousness and generosity and kindness, and basically, I care about people. That liberal, progressive, left-leaning concept that I care about people, and everyone who's a conservative or Republican or voted for Trump doesn't care about people, and I'm morally superior. But you can't be morally superior if you're sitting around hoping that bad things will happen, because if people suffer, it proves you right. That's not morally superior. It's not even spiteful. And I really would love to have a single word. I haven't come up with one. I'm asking all of you to reach out to me in the comments and let me know if you have a 10-word sentence or a meme or a word for that emotion. It might be 4 emotions mixed together. At this point, I'm leaning towards, we have people who basically are stroking their egos in search of validation of their righteousness, and they would rather stroke their egos and be proven right, if that causes suffering to other humans, than be proven wrong because less people suffer. Oh, look, there's my shadow. So these are my thoughts for the day, because it's so disheartening. And here's the last thing I'll say about this. That's exactly what my husband did for 28 years. If I said something that was meant to be pleasant, positive, productive, joyful, and happy, and somehow in his fugue state of anger at whatever he was angry at that day, he heard my words and interpreted them in a bad way, he would accuse me and say, hey, It's sort of like, hey, you just said that you hate my guts. And I'd be like, oh, I had no idea I came across that way. I don't hate your guts. I love you. I'm glad to see you. At that moment, he would rather be right, and he would rather that I had made that mistake of doing something wrong, which would make him right, instead of finding out. Like I used to say to him, wouldn't you rather be wrong? If you think I'm temporarily think I'm a horrible person, if that should bother you, because I'm your wife, if you discover that I'm not a horrible person and that you were wrong to believe I was, not that you did anything wrong, but it's just, guess what? It's better than you thought it was. The situation is much, much better than you thought it was. Wouldn't that make you happy? But no, it didn't. And the reason is because it wasn't really about me at all. People who are depressed, especially men who are depressed, men who feel powerless, men who have deep-seated anger, men who are looking for a way to relieve themselves of the pain of their emotions, are seeking a target. They desperately need and want something that they can justifiably express great anger towards, because within themselves they have so much discomfort. And when they get angry, it gives them a temporary feeling of power. When you become infuriated and you sit at your keyboard and you type out your self-righteous indignation at the stupid president and the dumb people who voted for him, and you spew all this vitriol, and then you hit send, during those few minutes or whatever while you're doing that, you're feeling the power that you lack in your real everyday life. It gives you the relief. And so when I see people who seem to be addicted to and deeply attached to and constantly produce a stream of this negative venting anger, and they're so seemingly happy and what's the word for it? It was right on the tip of my tongue. Proven right. They're so vindicated when something goes badly in politics. And of course, there has to be someone who hates Trump at this moment. And they start to spew about it. I think the reason they're glad things are going badly is incredibly self-serving and selfish. They don't realize that they just desperately want justification to spew and present an angry narrative of self-righteous indignation, because it will relieve them of their deep-seated emotional distress that they're not dealing with. And here's the thing. The person who does that publicly, whether it's on Facebook or whatever, that person is also doing so privately. And their wives or husbands, their children, their neighbors, their parents, their siblings, those people are getting an earful on a regular basis, and it is a toxic, this way, Debbie, this way. It is a toxic environment to be in. So I can't predict with 100% certainty that every person spewing on Facebook is also spewing at home all over their family, but I'm willing to bet most of them are. And that makes it even more sad. Anyways, I think these are some thoughts. Come on, Debbie. These are some thoughts that need to turn into words being spoken out loud amongst people. We need conversations about this, because the stock market, which took a natural dip as a result of the United States finally having a president who would take a really strong stance and present to the international community as a president to be reckoned with, is now immediately being approached by practically every state or nation in the world and is actively engaged in the beginning of what will be a slew of conversations with all of these nations, and in particular Japan and South Korea. And as a result, markets are rebounding. And it's only been a couple of days, and they dropped 10%, and now they're up 3%, and it's going to be volatile. But the reality is, the smart, calm people who do not succumb to the fear narratives and do not panic, they're going to just hold on to their stock. The countries or the companies are going to rebound. The markets will relax and come back into balance. And eventually they'll go back to thriving, and people will continue to make money over time. But if you terrify people, you panic them, and they suddenly sell their stock high, and now the market's low, they just took a loss because you scared them with a bunch of rhetoric that let us hope does not prove to be true. And that right there is that moment. Once a person predicts something bad, their ego gets attached to being right, and they would rather the bad thing happen and people be hurt than say, oh, I predicted with great strength and anger and arrogance and confidence, I predicted horrible things, and guess what? Thankfully, I was wrong. Things are much better, and people are not being harmed as much as I thought they would be. That is the moral high ground. Predict all you want, but hope for the best. If Donald Trump, in his second term, causes the United States of America to move into a place of great strength, economic stability, a return of production and industry to our nation, and the world becomes a safer place, and we get ourselves out of debt, and things are wonderful, that is what we all should be hoping for. But the people who are attached to the idea that their personal identity lies within the idea of I hate Donald Trump, they are actively wishing for things to go horrible simply because they want to be proven right. And the problem is, if you're wishing for that, your energy is going to that. Wow, that's a beautiful piece of usnea. Look at that. That is gorgeous. I am picking that up. That is so pretty. Wow. Okay, I'm actually leave it. It's just so beautiful. Look at that. Look at that. Oh. Anyways, if people are attached to that type of a horrible, terrible outcome, they will work to make it come about. They will write their Facebook posts that will scare people. More people who are scared will be more likely to panic and get out of the market at a bad time for themselves. They're more likely to then share the post forward. And then they're more likely to want to go spend their day at a rally holding a bunch of angry signs surrounded by other people who have also become radicalized and are being weaponized. And the next thing you know, they're making friends with people who are talking about, we've just got to burn it all down and start fresh. And that sounds so good when you've been convinced that everything is so terrible that there's no reason to preserve any of it. And that's the person who becomes a domestic terrorist. So I firmly believe, hey Dobby, I know we're back at the truck. I firmly believe we need to start talking about this crucial way in which people think and what they then do and how they affect those around them and the danger of this type of thinking. All right, if you've got thoughts, I would really love to hear them. Leave them in the comments below. And please share this forward. Let's just all start the conversation. Bye.